Thank you. Right, let me stop the transcript. I can't believe things are this inefficient. So you'll remember when we looked at this in the previous time, we looked at the top innovations for 2025 and the reality of what to expect in 2025. Now, it's an interesting approach to the way that innovation has unfolded, because I think for me, the single biggest innovation is artificial intelligence. I think in terms of the kind of impact that it will have, we'll see jobs disappear very rapidly. I think almost every single profession, including mine, as an academic, is under threat. We've been told that doctors will be replaced by AI. In particular, cancer doctors, AIs are able to spot and early detect cancers way before any human can. So we can clearly see that there is a significant shift in the world when we talk about artificial intelligence and the impact that it will have. Now, obviously, what will happen in terms of that is as many jobs that will be killed off by AI, new jobs will be created. And we can look at some jobs that didn't exist 10 years ago. But the truth is, these kinds of things happen in cycles. And I think we need to be positive about AI. And people need to embrace it. People need to be positive about using it, bringing it into their job. We also see that organizations now, as part of their advertisements, their job adverts, expect people to be proficient at AI within their specific context. And then we can see some of the other stuff here. Internet of Things would be where different machines interact with each other. So traditionally, when the internet started, it was a user like yourself and myself, and we would interact with whatever servers there were. Here we see servers interacting devoid of human contact completely. Milani, how are you? And then, yeah, additive marking, manufacturing, we know it as 3D printing. So 3D printing has been around for a long time, but we know that people are now working towards 3D printing body parts, implanting stem cells into those 3D printed body parts. So we've seen significant advances. Other things, obviously, those of you that dabble in Bitcoin will know what blockchain is. Quantum computing, the fact that we see software becoming incredibly resource intensive, and this desperate need to find better ways of computing, and certainly quantum computing, a promise that for the future is going to revolutionize and also will be very much part of the AI revolution. And we can see some of the other stuff. I mean, all of these are new. This is another one that's worth looking at, guys. But I think the important part is that we sit in a world where today is not going to be what tomorrow will be. I think we see such rapid advances that trying to keep up is nearly impossible. And the only way people can keep up is just by learning. So last time we spoke about how do we turn an organization into one that innovates. Now, just remember, I did say this previously as well, the rule around innovation is innovate or evaporate. If we look at what happened to Nokia, if we look at what happened to Kodak, if we look at what happened to BlackBerry, those brands literally don't exist anymore. And if they exist, they're a shadow of their former self. I mean, Nokia at some point had more than 40% of the cell phone market. They now boast about 2% of the cell phone market. Kodak recently tried to launch their own version of a cryptocurrency. And if you go and see, it's worth absolutely nothing. And it's really just brands trying to resuscitate their presence in the world. I mean, brands that we'll never see again would be Mr. Video, those kinds of places, Blockbuster Video, because you have Netflix. So part of the innovation process, part of making sure an organization is innovative, I think it starts specifically with the mindset. And this mindset is that we are constantly on the lookout to push the envelope in our organization. We question every single thing every day. We question the status quo, because what we know about the status quo is that if we get caught in our existing ways of doing things, we won't survive. The second part is then to look at those critical success factors. And it's about, if we introduce this, what is the worst thing that can happen? What is the best thing that can happen? And often the worst thing is that it will destroy some of our existing technologies, but the best thing is that obviously it is about moving the organization forward. And again, when we go back to Nokia, the idea of the candy bar design phone and this desperation to stick to a phone with buttons was their downfall. And I think they didn't see that as a worst case scenario. They believed everyone would still want buttons in the future. So I think it's about selecting and prioritizing those opportunities. And you can see there what would be the positive bits, what would be the negative bits. And often the negative bits are that we will kill off some of our existing technologies. We would have to reinvent the organization. But the danger of not doing it is that you become a brand that will be stuck in the past. Sorry, did I skip? Okay, sorry, guys. Step 2 is the cost and benefits of each, and then this specific scenario to be assessed. And then how do we create the actual product or service that will be a consequence of the innovation? And it is a step-by-step process. So you look at what happens when we introduce best and worst case scenario, and then you try and create a plan that will counteract whatever the worst case scenario issues are and will maximize the best case scenario issues. And then just, yeah, you look at the success. So what we look at here is to look at those success factors that will get us to have first mover advantage. Now, you'll remember when we spoke about first mover advantage last time, it is when you are to the market early. It's when you become the Google of search engines or the Hoover of vacuum cleaners. And we've seen those kinds of brands appear now as standard words in dictionaries. So we look at the kinds of things that would determine how successful we are. And then, does it align with what we want to achieve? How quick can we get it to market? What market share will we get? How will it increase our market share? What will we generate? And then a monitoring system, because none of this happens automatically. There has to be a tick box exercise to make sure that people do what they're supposed to do in the unfolding. And I think just once you've done that, the celebration is important, because people make a difference and often they don't get rewarded to the extent that the organization will make money from this particular innovation. Okay, so if we look at the things that stand in the way of innovation, in your organization, what would happen if you arrived and you made a suggestion that would have to change significant parts of the organization, but in the long run would benefit the organization? How would your managers react? Who works in an organization where people will say to you, don't rock the boat? Is anyone stuck in that kind of organization where any idea that challenges the status quo, the existing, is seen as you? Yeah, I'm concerned that that's in a lot of organizations, because we tend to think that innovations come from scientists and engineers. We forget about the please call me innovation that made Nokia, no, sorry, that made Vodacom the bazillions of rands. And that came from somebody who was not there as an engineer or a scientist. And I think we tend to underestimate innovation suggestions from people that don't fit into that kind of R&D role. Who has made suggestions around improvements and had the suggestions kicked out, basically saying, stay in your lane? And I hate that term so much, almost as much as I hate it is what it is. Has anyone made a suggestion that was kicked out because it wasn't your job to make recommendations? If anyone could make an innovation suggestion at their work tomorrow, what would it be? If you can change one thing tomorrow at work, what would it be that would lead to a vast improvement in your organization? Ilse, what do you do?
I'm still a buyer.
Okay, buyer for?
It's a forklift company called Gosco Lift Truck.
Okay. If you made a suggestion tomorrow, what would it be? If you could make a single suggestion to them, what would it be as an innovation?
As an innovation,
I'm not asking you for a kidney.
I'm a bit clouded.
I'm just asking you for an idea.
Look,
it's tough because the natural inclination of people is not to look for those. The natural inclination is to not look for those, yes, because we are told to stay in our lane. Vijeshna, if you could make a suggestion tomorrow, thanks, Ilse. Sorry to pick on you. I don't want a kidney either.
Well, right now there's not much that I suggest because we're already using whatever tech we can. We have
who
Zoom
says
meetings.
That? Says who? Says who? If you could make one suggestion tomorrow, what would it be that people will pay attention to? What do you do, Vijeshna?
I'm a bookkeeper in a security company.
Okay. If you could make one suggestion, what would it be?
I probably think automate some of our payments.
Okay. And what would happen if you made that suggestion?
It will free time for my manager.
It will?
It will free some time up for my manager because right now she is inundated with stuff that, say that now. We are using a lot of online portals and methods that we can. But I think just to streamline that a little bit more would help. And she's open to it. She wouldn't be opposed to it.
For me, every employee in every organization needs to have as part of their performance KPIs, whether you use key result areas or key performance areas, I don't really care, or KPIs, must have innovation KPIs where you're expected in a month to make a number of suggestions. Dominique, if you could tell your bosses or make a suggestion, what would it be? Joseph, are you there? Ilani, if you could make one suggestion.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry about that, sir.
No, what would you suggest, Dominic?
Sorry, can you just ask me the question again?
If you could make one suggestion about improving something in your organization tomorrow, what would it be?
It's hard to say because the organization I work for is relatively innovative. Like we use AI almost every day.
What organization is it?
So it's a software company. It's called Rhapsody. Yeah, and
what is the name of the company, if you're allowed to share?
Oh, it's called Rhapsody.
Okay, very cool, boy. So for you, innovation is box standard stuff. You see it every day. You're never surprised by it. It just happens all the time. That's quite a nice place to be.
Yeah.
Milani, from your side?
Hi, sir.
Hi.
I work as a tutor, so I think a really cool innovation would be if we made more sessions hybrid, so some online, some in person.
But what would happen if you make that suggestion?
We already incorporated, but most sessions are in person. Like if they made it more normal to get tutored online, it would be better because it would save transport costs for me.
Who do you work for?
I work for Tutor Doctor.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's something that you should make as a suggestion. And also, I think people prefer to be tutored online. I hate coming in to be tutored. I want to be tutored at my desk where I can carry on working. I think the reality is our natural inclination is not to make suggestions, guys. I think organizations don't always welcome, other than where Dominique is. So, guys, in terms of these things that stand in the way of innovation, the first one is the fact that people will say that we don't have the money, we don't have the time, we don't have the resources. The problem with that as a constraint is that often the innovations would free up resources. So it's a catch-22 that you claim not to have the kind of resources to accept and embrace innovations, but often those innovations will save you resources. Yeah, organizational culture. I think a lot of people work for organizations where, unless you work as a scientist or engineer, you're not considered somebody that should be contributing to innovations. And then other things. I mean, Vijeshna, you working as a bookkeeper, you have to be very careful because you have strict rules. I mean, the one thing that will end you end up in will get you to end up in prison is the term called creative accounting. Because creative accounting is not a good idea, but a creative software engineer is a hell of a good idea, guys. And then also what customers will accept. I think customers are always very wary of anything that appears gimmicky. And then just other factors that are there. Oh, please, everyone knows how to do creative accounting. Um, guys, and then just also changes in technology, often those technological changes that we really require to give life to an innovation haven't happened yet. And you can see that what's happening in the world in terms of Trump. A lot of people, as a consequence of these tariffs and the tariff war, are adopting hold and maintain strategies. They're very much adopting an idea that we don't want to expose ourselves to risk. So we are going to stay close to what we have now. And also not having the right information, the right knowledge. And you can see the last one there as well. So I think the kind of innovation strategies that we have, the first one is the first mover or leader. These are organizations that will constantly beat everyone else to the punch. These are the organizations that are always introducing new technologies first. And remember when we did this previously, I think we did this search where we looked at patents registered in 2024 per company. And for the last couple of years, it's been Samsung that's been at the front of this. Where is that? Yeah. Samsung has been beating everyone else to the punch. And so when we think of this kind of leader, where is it? Is it this one? I think it's this bugger here. There it is. Samsung every year. What is interesting, guys, is that LG very close second. Now we know that they are both from South Korea. They are from South Korea, is that correct? Someone help me quickly. Are Samsung South Korea? What flag is that?
It is South Korea, it's correct.
Yeah, I'm losing my mind here because of what all the stuff that's happening around Taiwan. It is South Korea. Remember, South Korea also gives us Hyundai and Kia, which is very, very impressive. But you can see the first two are those two from the dot in the map country, because I mean, South Korea is a dot on the map. And then some others, and it's interesting to see what is happening now with China, who sees Taiwan as a rebel province. I have a feeling that China might invade Taiwan. There's a real chance of that. And you can see some of these others, how Huawei, obviously from China, still a lot of American organizations there, Japanese organizations. And as I said, also Hyundai and Kia come from South Korea. And it's impressive that these little dot on the map countries can perform this well. A lot of Japan. I'm trying to find the first African country, guys. Do you think there is an African country on here? That's Germany. That's Germany. What is Johnson and Johnson? What flag is that, guys? Is that India? Yeah.
That's India.
Yeah. Is there an African country on here? That's deeply disturbing. Mind you, look how Australia won there. UK, not too many. This is obviously a pharmaceutical company. Guys, there isn't a single African country on here. Any comments about African countries not being there? That is deeply concerning. Guys, so in terms of the first mover or leader, that would be always LG and Samsung. And I mean, in terms of some of the advances they've made, it's been insane. Fast follower or defensive? Fast follower, if Samsung's the leader, we could argue that LG is the follower, but it's a very close follower. Imitation, I think it's often what the Chinese will do. So we know that China is very good at imitating. And then market segmentation is where we take those initial innovations and we find different markets for it. You know, a classic example is Blu-ray. You know, Blu-ray started off as a Sony gaming thing and then became, you know, we see Blu-ray absolutely everywhere. We see the same thing with Bluetooth in terms of connectivity. So there are different innovation models. So the first one here is where we innovate as a consequence of external social needs, changes in demographics, changes in culture. So it's driven as a consequence of trying to keep up with demands that are in the world. I mean, if we think of how Mr. D has essentially grown significantly, it is as a consequence of a culture of convenience. And you know, 20 years ago, the idea of a Mr. D would never even have existed. And now everyone has Mr. D on their phone as an app. The same with Uber Eats. Who has Mr. D on their phone as an app? No, let me ask it differently. Anyone not have it on their phone as an app? The same with Uber. I mean, Milani, so you don't have it on your phone. Jeshna, you don't have Mr. D.
I only have Uber.
Uber Eats. Okay, that's close enough. Yeah. Only Uber Eats.
I food delivery.
Which one do you do? Jeshna?
I don't use food deliveries. I don't.
Why is that?
I'm Indian. I cook.
That's the best. The curry not good. The delivery curry is not good, Vijeshna. Let me reinforce the stereotype. I'm Indian. I cook. I think this is the best comment of the week for me. Okay, guys. The second one.
But also, sorry.
Yeah, go, Ilse.
So I was also scammed by Uber Eats.
Well, I was scammed by Uber. My credit card got hacked, and I had one morning 7,000 worth of Uber charges to my to my phone, and one Monday morning at 4 o'clock while I was happily asleep in bed. Yeah, no, Uber is one of those that is the most at risk in terms of hacks, and that's why Standard Bank told me not to use Uber Eats. It is one that often gets hacked. You're right, Ilse. It's a dangerous one. That Mr. D, I don't know. I've got Mr. D. Guys, and then the individualistic school. I think this is when you work for places like Apple or Google, or I don't want to say Tesla because I'm annoyed at Tesla, but if you work for a place like Google, I think it's the talents and the collective abilities of people in the organization that gets the kind of innovations that move the organization forward. And then just also the resource-based view. This is the combination of hardware, software, skills, the right resources that essentially create this culture of innovation in an organization. This, I want to use the term hotbed for innovation. And then different forms of innovation. Now, I don't know if you have come across these terms before. I don't know if we do it as part of BMNG 7321, red ocean versus blue ocean strategies. Anyone remember this? I have a feeling that it might even be one of the assignment questions. So blue ocean strategies are for organizations who create new industries. So blue ocean strategy, and I apologize for how old this example is, but a blue ocean strategy would have been Google the first time they launched their search engine. The first time Google launched their search engine, that was a blue ocean strategy because there weren't other competitors. So whenever you create an innovation that creates a new industry, that industry is a blue ocean because you don't have other competitors around. And what happens when you have a blue ocean strategy and you the first person there is you can set the standards within that particular industry. If we then look at red ocean is when there is a feeding frenzy. I'm always surprised at Mr. Price, and I'm now talking, first of all, Mr. Price Clothing. Mr. Price Clothing was launched at a time where there were tons of competitors, and somehow Mr. Price survived. I was further surprised when they launched Mr. Price Home. And a lot of furnishings places, a lot of similar competitors, yet Mr. Price survived. So this is when you enter into a market that is a feeding frenzy. And you often will get caught in that feeding frenzy if you don't have your strategies right. And then you also have Mr. Price Sport. There's so many sporting outlets in the country, and yet as a red ocean strategy, Mr. Price survived. A wonderful example of companies that can do the red ocean, get into a feeding frenzy and find a little niche for themselves. Give me other examples of blue ocean versus red ocean strategies. Other examples of red versus blue ocean strategies. Blue ocean strategies, Uber, Airbnb, and now obviously others have arrived, booking.com and Lekker Bly, whatever the Afrikaans version is. Red ocean strategies, gosh, Astron arriving in South Africa when there are so many other petrol stations. I mean, very tough to survive that arena. So guys, in terms of when we create a new innovation, I think what we try and do in terms of creating new value for people is we in order to survive need to clearly understand that there's certain factors that we want to have in place that other people don't have. So we want to differentiate ourselves significantly in terms of certain factors. The create is when we introduce factors that had never existed prior. And I'll use examples. Certain factors, and it's often things that are dated and people not interested, can we have below the typical standards that are out there, and then some factors are unimportant. So when we think of taking your car to be serviced back in the day, the standard was the car service. Then we raised it, and people then did additional aspects of the service. They rotated tires and they did bits and pieces like that. And then they went even further, and I know this is silly because it's now bog standard, is we started vacuuming and washing the vehicle. So often when we introduce a new innovation, there's certain things that we have to introduce that will give customers something brand spanking new. So when you think of cloud technology, when cloud technology was launched, all of a sudden the create there was the ability to connect all your devices through a single cloud. The raise at that point would have been the kind of technologies available, and I'm going to use the iPod or the iPad, my apologies. There were things that we could get rid of, the old style games and things like that. And there's certain things we could reduce. So every time we launch a new innovation, we try and attend to these. But you want to be in all four of those, because there's certain things that you can get rid of without being concerned that people will be. Yeah, PEP. I mean, PEP is a wonderful example. If you think of what PEP does, Vijeshna, I think PEP, in terms of create, they've added significantly new products to their lineup, and they are able to do it at a really good price. They have the extra bits and pieces that are available there. I mean, all of this is the idea of how you survive. Think of the Chinese vehicles, and I wanted to get here, and it's taken me a long time to get here. I want to show you a new vehicle that's on its way. Where is that now? Okay. Oh, flippin' heck. What is it? Oh, my word, I looked at it and it was in my sorry, I'm being really dumb. No, and I'm not going to find it now. That's BYD. Okay, now this is my own fault. It's this one. My apologies. It's, oh gosh. I don't want that. I just want the jet tour. Look at this now. This will launch for under 700,000. This will launch for under 700,000 in South Africa. Look at this. I mean, for me, this is a thing of beauty. It is an absolute, no, that's not it. This is it. It is a thing of beauty. If you look at the stuff that they have in there, above and beyond, there are capabilities that you'll find in a Range Rover. Some of the stuff they've done away with, the old style nonsense that you don't worry about. But this elevates, in my mind, what a Chinese vehicle can be. Guys, look at this thing. I mean, it looks like a Range Rover from behind. I mean, those panels open, the running for under 700,000 Rand. So if you think of what is created there. Now, I never thought I would drive a Chinese vehicle, but I'm now regretting buying my Ford. I want a jet tour. Any comments about driving Chinese vehicles in terms of what they create here? It is a thing of beauty, Mandy. Ilse, it's a thing of beauty. Dom, what do you drive? Dominique?
So I actually don't drive.
You don't
Because
drive, boy?
yeah, no, because in Germany they have
Of
public
course.
transport. It's really good.
Of course. Of
Yeah.
course. I mean, it's a pain to drive there. You 100. But you have got a license or don't you have a
Oh
license?
yes, I do.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Ilse, what do you, yeah. Go for it, boy.
before I sold my car, when I still lived in South Africa, I was driving a VW.
Very, very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a TIG one, but I've replaced it with a Ford. Ilse, what do you drive? Can you see yourself in a jet tour?
I could definitely see myself, but I am going to be driving my Picanto for the next 6 years because
Those are
my son
amazing
is
vehicles, man. Yeah,
my son is going to DHS next year.
oh dear Lord, yes. Okay, Nia, hold on. I want to keep your forget. Those are bulletproof, though. I mean, they are built to last forever. But I think we see in the Chinese vehicles the kind of raise and create stuff that's happened. I saw that Jetta and I thought, oh gosh, I want to swap my car for it. Okay, guys, so in terms of value innovation, I think the most important thing here is to meet customer needs in a way that is different to existing alternatives. So when we think of those Chinese vehicles, there is so much bling in those vehicles. They give you so many electronics that other vehicles, other brands don't have as their standard. And it gives them an opportunity to mix that wonderful thing of uniqueness in terms of differentiation, but also the idea of having something that's really good value for money. In my mind, I can't process the idea that it's possible that that thing is going to launch for under 700,000. I cannot process that. For me, that is a thing of beauty. And I don't, honestly, guys, I don't work for them and I'm not trying to sell you one. But I just saw this weekend and I thought it just shows you what can be done in terms of value innovation. Other parts that we need to look at is the notion of open innovation. So when we look at open innovation, is that I think we have to constantly be looking not only inside the organization, but outside the organization in driving innovation. We see in the motor industry that new innovations are shared between different brands because the technology in motor vehicles is advancing so significantly that a single brand cannot, impossible to track every aspect of technology. So what happens is we see that we have this internal and external pathway. Things that we develop internally, which we'll make available to our competitors, and things they develop that we will embrace in the organization. Now, obviously, these are strategic alliances. Not everyone's going to be part of a strategic alliance, but we definitely see that there has to be a multitude of pathways into the organization, in particular in a world where AI is becoming stock standard. We see technology shared all the time, guys. I mean, a silly one is Blu-ray that is everywhere, Bluetooth that is everywhere. But the truth is, organizations cannot think we can go it alone. Technology advances too quickly for that. So what we try and do is we try internally to make magic with our own resources, with our own employees, with our own technologies. But there has to be some sort of external avenue. And whether that external avenue is forming a strategic alliance with a university and a university feeding information in, that is part of it. But often it is about competitors working together in delivering something that on their own they couldn't deliver. And then the business model concept, I think when we think of trying to have all those elements together, there's certain things that have to be in place for you to be able to value innovate, for you to create innovations. The kinds of things that are there, always key partners and generally with competitors in some instances. Key activities, and those key activities are those that essentially that encourage employees to constantly question everything they do, that to encourage them to make improvement suggestions. Key resources, and those key resources could be anything from finances right through to plant and machinery and equipment that will be made available. The value proposition is the thing that we create that impresses our customer. And then how do we get it there? We know modern channels is online, but it is about the distribution. And then identify which customer segment, understand very clearly who your customers are. The customer for the jet tour has now changed. It's now becoming a upper middle class vehicle, because that is the reality of what you can do when you build something that is that advanced. Cost structure, very important, and that's where, in terms of what Trump is doing now with the tariffs, I think car prices are going to escalate in America, and I don't know what the knock-on effect will be in our country. And then multiple revenue streams. Do not assume that you can just have one revenue stream. I think the truth is organizations diversify because they realize very rapidly that there are many ways of making money. Guys, and then ethical innovation. Give me examples of things you consider unethical, innovations that have been unethical. And I have a lot, but I'll give you an opportunity. Innovations that have been unethical. Innovations. Go for it, Milani.
So I'm not sure if it's an official innovation, but I once saw on TikTok that they are planning to create embryos for homosexual couples.
So you
like,
think that's that's unethical now, because that's a real point of view, but ethicality is that's an embryos for your homosexual couples. That's an interesting one.
I'm not sure if it's only for homosexual couples,
Yeah.
but I think maybe for
Okay.
some women who don't want to give birth.
It's an interesting one. You know, when I think of unethical innovations, I think there are so many advances in the way we kill people. If you see the number of innovations when it comes to war machinery, it's disturbing how creative we can be to find ways of exterminating other people. For me, the innovations that happen in terms of making, better arms, better weapons, better bombs, better drones, better. I have real issue in terms of that. The other one that I have an issue with is, and I'm using this as part of an honors course that I'm doing, and I'm so reluctant to use it, but I also am forcing my own biases to just sit aside, is the innovation in cigarettes. You know, this move towards e-cigarettes and this belief that e-cigarettes are healthy. But if you look at the number of youngsters that start smoking, they start with vaping. And for me, there is so much innovation going into vaping. And the intention is to attract young smokers. I've never vaped. I can't imagine what it's like to vape. I've never smoked. I can't imagine what it's like to smoke. But it appears that it's easier to start vaping than start smoking. So for me, there is a lot of those kind of innovations that I have to question from an ethicality perspective. Anyone here smoke? Anyone here vape? Let me ask the question first of all. Anyone vape? Do we have smokers on the call? That's impressive, Vijesh. Yeah. Never smoked before, Vijeshna? Or have you smoked before? Yeah, same here. I've never smoked. I'm 61 years old, almost 62, and I have never ever smoked. Anyone vape? Dom, do you vape? Ilani, do you vape?
No, sir.
You don't vape.
No,
Well done, boy. Do you smoke though? Not you don't, obviously.
no.
Milani looks like a vapor, guys.
I don't smoke. I don't vape.
Do you vape?
No, I don't. I've never.
The amount. Remember to report me, Milani. You have to report me. Yeah. I mean, for me, those are two areas that, from an ethicality perspective, I seriously question. So, guys, it's the idea of responsible innovation. For me, responsible innovation is not finding ways of attracting young smokers so that we have them hooked for life. I mean, I was in Camps Bay a while ago, and there was a 10-year-old girl vaping. She wasn't a day over vaping, walking around vaping. And for me, it's become this acceptable alternative to smoking. But we know that it changes the way that the childhood brain develops. Sorry, I'm having a moment, and I'm pretty sure the smokers that are on this course are going to have their own issues with me. So I think because innovation influences so much and influences the way we engage, the way we interact, the way we deal with the environment, I think there has to be an ethical component. Well, it's desperately sad, Vijeshna. It is desperately sad. I work at a campus, and yeah, everyone is vaping, all the young kids, and to be a little bit racist, uh, those young Indian kids, honestly, majority vape. A majority of my Indian students vape. And I have a real issue with that, and I know that there's an issue in the Indian culture in terms of that, but for me that is annoying. Now there are other races that smoke and vape, but majority are the Indian kids, and it's a real concern. I mean, today I had a small class, only 3 attended, and all of them vape. All 3 Indian kids vape. Went to go and vape. A 4th friend arrived to go and vape with them. Guys, and I think the idea is that you need to look ahead in terms of what these innovations will do. And I think that to me is what makes it ethical. Now, the truth is, if it's a big money spinner, let's be honest, ethicality takes a back seat to money, and that's the reality. Guys, thank you very much for this evening. I won't start a new chapter. We will finish all 6 learning units like this as a class. I'm not going to not finish it. So I'll carry on until we've done absolutely everything. The moment you've submitted your assignment, we will do our next assignment preparation. Otherwise, guys, thank you so much for visiting. Ilza, did you drop off? I'm so sorry. Thank you for visiting. Please look after yourself. Ilza, do you vape? Cheers, Vijeshna. Thanks, guys. Please look after yourselves. Remember, we have the WhatsApp